Hi everyone, this is KnightFighter22 here. I hope you guys are all well, and welcome to the next game of chess in the series. Today we are looking at a game I played versus Mixsteer69 or something. As I said, I can never pronounce their names. 1275 versus 1274, so pretty close game. This game was so interesting because, well, one of the reasons was I thought I was mated, and then it actually turns out that I wasn't, and that everything was okay. But there were a lot of tactics involved as well. So let's take a look at the game. E4, E6, Knight F3, D5. I actually see Knight F3 quite a lot against the French. I don't know whether this is just because they haven't seen the French, or maybe they want to play D4 after Knight F3 to support it. I don't know. So maybe what I'm saying is if they've seen Knight F3, they can't really play D4 anyway because of E takes. So I don't know why they play Knight F3. It sort of forces an exchange. So we take back, and I really do think it gives Black a slight advantage in this position, considering that Black goes second. But now he can play D4, but as you can see, it just leads to an equal position. So Bishop to D3 now, just basically a simple development move. C5, I always play this against these kind of positions, which I get quite a lot. I don't tend to mind the isolated D pawn if D takes on C5. I just don't mind it. I prefer having the D pawn there for center control, and you can always trade it off later. So castles, and then knight up to c6, just putting pressure on the d4 square. So my opponent decides to take and recaptures. And if you look at it, I think from the white perspective, Black has a really nice attack, you know, after he brings his bishop out to c5. And I don't think that White has as much an advantage considering he went first. He did have some compensation for this, which was rook to e1 check. I can defend the threat with bishop to e6. But then after knight to d5, I have to give up my bishop pair. So queen d6, knight takes, and e takes. And I did give up my bishop pair for a couple of reasons. I was thinking of maybe supporting the pawn, you know, getting knight g4 in, putting pressure here. I've always got this bishop here, I can put pressure on the f2 square. So I have got a lot of counterplay, actually. I do have to, after queen e2 though, I do actually have to defend the pawn, get more defenders on the pawn. But I actually just play my pawn up to e5, and he goes ahead and pins my knight. And now I can go e4 actually, because, hang on, if we just go back and move, the threat is, if I castle and just remove the pin, then this bishop can trade off anyway, and then win the pawn. So I had to play e4, and this gives the pawn an automatic defender. But as soon as I stop defending with d5 square, he goes ahead and attacks that. So this player is very, very attacking, just like me. I think that we are quite similar in our sort of use of tactics. We don't care so much about positional players and those sort of advantages, but more about tactics and middle game checkmates and that sort of stuff. So I get castled on the king's side. I've got my rook on the open f-file, and he brings his bishop to e3, developing his bishop. Now I didn't want to trade off the bishops right away, because if I take and then he takes, he just really gets an advantage, and he's already got 2 bishops and I've only got 1. So I wanted to keep my other bishop, because to be honest, I like having 1 knight and 1 bishop. Or I don't like having just like 2 knights or 2 bishops. I prefer having 1 of each. So knight up to b4 now. This is putting pressure on the c2 square if he was to ever move his queen, and also other squares such as that. But I guess just, you know, an aggressive move, and also defends the d5 square temporarily, because these knights are very easy to attack. But in the end, he does trade off my dark square bishop. I don't mind that so much, because my queen's in now a good spot. And he plays rook from a to d1. Putting a lot of pressure on this pawn here. So I go ahead and play a6 and just kick this bishop back for a couple of moves. But I don't know, I do get this strong pawn chain, but now after you see, there is a heck of a lot of pressure on this pawn. At the moment I do have 3 defenders of the pawn, but now there's 3 attackers, so I'm really going to have to watch out and keep all those defenders there. So that's why I played rook over to d8, rook from a to d8 here. He now plays a3. Attacking my knight, and I know now that it was a good idea that I moved my rook, because the knight's got to drop back. It can't go to d3 or a2 or anywhere like that, so I put it back onto c6, and it's back in a nice spot. I'm maybe put it into the d4 square pretty soon. And now he plays queen over to d2. Now this is the point in the game, pretty soon in the game after here, I thought that I was mated, but I spotted something whilst I was playing the sequence of moves which just led to mate. I spotted something which could help me win the game. So I played knight g4 here, deliberately. I say deliberately, this is one of the traps. I was talking earlier about traps. The trap was for him to go ahead and take the pawn, because I've just taken off one of the defenders, and because he's got 4 attackers and I've only got 2 defenders, it would be very appetizing for him to do that. But the trap was, after, you know, this knight moves, I've now got 3 attackers on the f2 square, which isn't very well defended. So he goes ahead and takes with his knight. I do have to be careful here because there'll be a load of discovered checks, because this bishop is secretly lined up against the king. And I go ahead and take with the rook. So I'm actually using exactly the same tactic, literally exactly the same tactic. So for my idea was, if the queen goes to any square, so say for example the queen went to g5, you know, nice safe square, attacking the knight, then I can always play something like rook f5 check, and it's going to be check. You know, if the queen goes to e3, rook f3 check, they all win the queen. But he plays knight e7 check first, and I was sort of cringing a bit because I moved my king into the corner, and I knew as soon as I played this, I thought it was a mistake, because I just see queen takes d8 check, and I think, oh my god, it's one of those back rank mates. So what I was thinking was, knight takes d8, rook takes d8, and I play rook f8, and then the rook takes on f8, and that is checkmate. And I was really kicking myself at this point in the game because I did have the advantage. But luckily for me, this was a queen blunder, which I discovered because after knight takes and rook takes, when I go back to defend the check with my rook, it's check. I forgot about this discovered check tactic, and this was really good because, you know, it just shows you how these tactics can come, and they can come back and win you the game just after you think they're lost. And of course, he doesn't have a queen anymore, and it's check. So the king goes off. Well, sorry, the rook goes back to defend anyway, because I'm going to win this. I don't know why he did this, because it was actually helping me to mate. So if he just played king h1, sorry, not king h1, because that's going to be mate, obviously. Actually, yeah, I do know why he played that, because if he just plays king h1, then there's a pretty easy mate going. So he tried to defend here, check, but there's no real way he can defend this. So king h1, a lovely use of discovered check tactics now. Knight f2 check, and then I can just simply win the rook. So king g1, and then I can play the knight round to d3 check, knight round to d3 check with the queen. Sorry, that's what I was gonna say. And then king h1, knight takes e1. He does play knight g6 check. I don't know why, but after he takes, he does actually resign. Obviously, there is ways he can defend this mate for 1 or 2 moves. He can delay it, is what I'm trying to say. So he can play h3, rook f1 check, king h2, queen to g1 check, king g3. I can't really calculate that far anyway, but there will be a mate somewhere. And obviously, if you look at the material balance, I can actually probably see it here. Yeah, he's lost 31 points of material, and I've only lost 17, so there's a 14-point lead in material as well. Okay, so thanks so much for watching the video, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that game. I wish you good luck playing chess, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.